And I wanted to point out, we during this segment on Friday mornings, we talk firearms on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Todd Eccles is joining me from Patriot Defense. And I just asked him a quick question. And, this is one of those things that I didn't, normally I would have this answer but I didn't spend a lot of time talking about Spain this morning. But I guess my question was, like most of Europe, I don't think that they have I don't think there's like a Second Amendment in Spain, and so someone can get away with a terrorist attack, perhaps they might not get away with in this country.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure about overseas, in Europe and Spain. I have a hard enough time keeping track of the states here. In fact, I don't even like to travel, so they're allowed at my house, and so if I don't need to go further than my house, I'm cool.
I, uh, I was going to say most of Europe. The idea that a private citizen can own firearms is, yes, they can, but the hoops they have to go through mean very
Right.
few do.
And I think they're more like hunting rifles and stuff like that to go hunting on their hunting preserves. And the cool thing about them though is they're able to have suppressors. That's considered polite, and some places are required when they go hunting to actually use a suppressor. Where here we can't. So they allow suppressors, but they have a hard time allowing firearms. We allow firearms, but we have a really hard time allowing suppressors. We just need to get them together, and one big law.
I wanted to point out a couple other newsworthy topics. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but there was a story that I happened to see earlier this week. We've been hearing a lot about Dana Loesch the last several weeks because she's the spokeswoman, and the NRA's
Right.
been running this campaign along with Sheriff David Clark, where they're very blunt in how they talk about mainstream media. Now, mainstream media, to me, as soon as you criticize them, they're overly sensitive. When you consider that this is public life, you learn to deal with it. But the latest, here's Forrest coming in, so we're going to involve him in this conversation too because it's come up before. But Dana Loesch, according to some writer at a publication called The New Yorker, is inciting violence by the commercials that the NRA is running. And the guy says he doesn't understand what the NRA's point is in this because he says, according to him, they've gotten everything they want. So, what's your take on all of that?
Well, I just got the last part of that. I have forgot to factor in my travel time from Murtaugh harvest time. So
Yeah.
I thought you were stuck behind the train. That's what normally happens.
On the first issue you were talking about as far as gun ownership in Europe,
And you were in Italy, right?
yeah, I spent a couple weeks there, and pretty similar across the board. It's very difficult for private citizens to own a firearm. If they do, a lot of times they have to be locked up in the police station, and usually it's a double barrel shotgun or a single shot or bolt action rifle, and usually it's only the wealthy, which is another thing that happens.
Mhm.
You start putting regulations and things, and generally it's designed so only the wealthy can own a firearm. Only wealthy can hunt. That's how it is in Europe. In England, most of the ground's private. It's all private hunting clubs.
Mhm.
It's very expensive to do any of that.
The king's deer.
Yep, exactly. So, and then talking about the terrorist attack, one thing. This is what anti-gun people use all the time. They say, look at what this guy did. You can't stop crazy. There's crazy people in the world, and there's going to do things. You can't protect against anything. However, a well-armed, well-trained, well-regulated society can, however, stop these things earlier than just a bunch of helpless sheep standing there watching it happen, because you
Right.
can't do anything to defend yourself. But if there are some well-armed, well-trained people, I emphasize trained, that know what they're doing, have taken the time to practice, then yeah, they can definitely affect these crazy guys when they go and do these terrorist attacks.
The other thing about the NRA that I think sometimes people on the other side of the argument tend to overlook is the NRA is a fundraising outfit. I mean, they raise money. That's part of the mission. But there's a belief, I guess, among some over on the other side who would probably be in what you'd call the group that would like to take away people's firearms. They think that these commercials with the sheriff and with Dana Loesch are threatening. That somehow this is going to lead to violence. That they're inciting violence. I don't get that feeling, but then I tend to be in agreement with the script that they're reciting.
They're If something agrees with their agenda, they're going to call it threatening. That's just where they go. Just they go to that's threatening. You're inciting violence. You're racist. They've got a handful of excuses of words that they throw out there and use, and that's one of them.
The goal is to shut down the conversation.
Yeah.
And so if you don't agree with their view, then you're a racist. Because they know that when they use that tag word racist,
Sensitive,
they will, nobody wants to be referred to as that. So they shut down the conversation. But let's face it, they're offended by everything. They're offended by someone having a different opinion than them. It's just what you're seeing happening on these colleges. They're shutting down the right to free speech because it doesn't agree with the agenda that they have. And so then they become offended by it. Well, it's not okay to offend anyone, so we can't talk about that. Or we can't have that point of view. It's just political correctness gone wild.
And it's interesting how that you're racist or it offends them, so you can't talk about it, you can't offend other people. How that has taken off. Everyone. I mean, I see it in my kids even to a certain extent. Well, you can't talk about you being a racist. You can't that might offend somebody. I mean, it starts up here and it filters down. And even the average everyday Joe that likes his guns and loves and supports the Second Amendment, there's parts and pieces of his life where we can't talk about it. We don't want to offend anyone. So it takes normal thinking people, and it just filters down, and it just starts. Do you guys get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, but you can only talk, and the way it works is you can only talk about the things they want to talk about, and you better have their outlook on it, or else it's not okay to talk about.
I want to point out, I think out on the range, you never hear political correctness, but then again, the people who are there don't worry too much about what the other side thinks.
The only correctness I hear on the range, or incorrectness, is mag and clip, okay?
Yeah.
It's a magazine. It's not a clip.
We have a caller with us. Caller, you're up next, and you're on the air on KLIX at 9:13. Go ahead. Well, we'll tell you what. Try again. Let me give you the number. And we got to keep making this clear because even it's tough for me because you learn to say something one way. Now I always have to say 208 first. 208-736-0300. That's 208-736-0300. And there are people out there, if you say clip, they get, speaking of people that we might know maybe more on our side, they get a little upset by that.
I mean, I don't say anything. I try to correct them in class when I hear it, but man, that just grinds on my nerves.
We have our caller back. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm back from New York, Bill. I'm still alive.
God bless you.
One more trip in the brook, and even the scale cops didn't get me. Not that I'd go around them on purpose. Yeah, you guys are right. It's going crazy everywhere. My son's in the 10th Mountain, and he's been a professional soldier, and he's got a lot of kills, and he's a sniper scout. He doesn't fool around. He trains FBI agents in Quantico and all these people, and he loves playing the enemy in Fort Irwin in California against the Marines and stuff. He says it's terrible. What's happened to this country is, you guys get ready. This is just the tip of the sword. These people are cracking up. I was back there. I go down through there. I go, oh, God, I got to go down the back way down through Delaware like we used to live there by the air base to sneak around that scale and go down where all that stuff's going on in Virginia. It's a nightmare in Virginia. It's a nightmare.
Yeah,
everybody get your gun sales. They're going to go through the roof. You're going to be millionaires in about 6 more months. So just stand back and wait for the checks to come in because, honest to God, fellas, this is unbelievable. I see it coast to coast, and I've been doing this 45 years. I've seen it deteriorate just like you have, Bill, up in upstate New York. I've seen California go down. I lived down there 30 years, and I've done all this. I've seen it all. And here's the sad part. I just go down the road with my Peterbilt, looking out the window, watching it go. And guess what? The people are nuts anymore, and they're getting worse. Texas are going to have that. I heard on the radio this morning, they're going to have another big show of how they can't stand the statues. Personally, I mean, I'm as Yankee as they get. Upstate New York, that's what they do, right? But guess what? I like the museums, and I used to like to see little small towns in the South where you'd have them in the central circle in town, of all the small towns around Thomasville, Georgia, and things. Valdosta, Georgia, be low down there all the time. And that was where they had Andersonville. And there's all kinds of memorials down there where they can do tear them all down. I'm going to be mad, and I live in Idaho.
Yeah, got to let you run on that note. We're going to squeeze another caller in here quickly, too, before the break. Caller, you're on the air. You're on KLIX. Go ahead. Well, that caller is having a tough time getting through on that one particular line. Can I? He brings up a couple of points though that This is why I think we have so many people who are interested in getting enhanced carry, or so many people who are buying firearms, is because for a while people said, well, you're just angry with Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. But when you see what's going on in the streets, most people I think are starting to say, well, if the police aren't going to be there right away to defend me, what am I going to do?
It's up to yourself. I mean, you've got to have something there. I mean, bad stuff can happen anywhere at any time. You never know. I mean, people don't go to they don't go to the mall and think that there's going to be a shooter there. They don't go to, I mean, you go to a protest, there might be some violence. There's always a chance, but you don't go there thinking someone's going to mow you down with their car. Um, you don't leave your house thinking you're going to get mugged or robbed or taken hostage, but it happens to people all the time and more frequently. And just have something. It's better than not having anything. Be able to protect yourself if you have to. Be able to protect your family, your loved ones.
And I think one thing that we're not looking at here, we haven't even addressed, is the economic situation.
Yeah.
Like we are heading for a crash, and you combine that with all the political tension and all the social tension in the country right now, things are going to get dicey. I mean, that's why we live where we live, because generally we live in a really safe place. We have great law enforcement here. They can't be everywhere, but man, they work hard and they're fabulous. We have great first responders here, but things are going to turn, and that's something that we need to prepare for. And then I had a lady in a class this week, and she didn't shoot, and she didn't even own a gun. She goes, "Well, I'm probably not going to buy a gun, but I want to know how to use one if one ever comes around me." And she ended up being very proficient with that firearm, but she was just learning, so she'd have that in her book. So if she ever needed to know how to do it, she would know how to do it.
I think that people are really concerned that, especially when it comes to their property, that they're going to have some last wall of defense, maybe more so than at any time. Because whether or not it's true, you see pictures of any violence in the streets, and you realize if that spreads wide and somehow goes nationwide, it's going to be everybody for themselves in one respect.
Yeah, and especially in the big urban areas.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so much here because I know out where I live, you got a whole bunch of people who know how to use firearms and
and nobody can find Todd's house.
Well, it's why I got a driveway that's like a half mile long, and I live at the end. I can see people coming at the road.
He can only see me. He had to direct me in because he could see me driving about a mile
Turn
away.
around, Bill. Turn around, Bill. Turn around.
But we could be in for some rough roads. Tell you what, we'll take a short break. We've got Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn in studio with us, as well as Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. Bill Colley, 267 right now at 9:20, and we'll get to your telephone calls as well. And we'll also share the contact information for our two studio guests this morning. All of that's on the way in just a few minutes on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're talking firearms this hour until 10 o'clock this morning. We're coming up on 9:23. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense, Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn, and Bill Colley on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're at 70, and I'm going to squeeze a caller in here because I know we had a couple of lines going just before the break. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Bill. Cutting through all the red tape and the smoke and all that stuff, I think the only thing we can do to take care of this ISIS problem that's causing so many things is through KMVT, the Dish Network, and cable, and start to expose every evening the assassinations, the beheadings, the attacks on women. And this is the only thing that's going to bring this country back to life, when the people actually see the blood that these people are spilling all over the world.
Well, all the more reason, and thank you for the call, but it gets back to our point. Train and get proficient, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And educate yourself.
Sure.
I mean, watch the local news, but there's so much happening in the world. Open up your eyes a little bit, check out and see what's happening. There's a lot of we talk about the Muslim immigrants that come to this country. A lot of them are really great people. I deal with them in my shop all the time. And some of the atrocities that they have seen in their countries by some of these extremist organizations are horrible. Now, I agree with the thought that we need to find out when we bring people over here who's an extremist and who's not. A lot of them are great contributing members of society and do a great job. Very honest people. I had a guy come in the other day. He just needed a couple sockets to fix his car. Really broken English. And he just had his debit card. I said, well, it's $1 for those 2 sockets, but I'll tell you what, I'll trust you. You can bring me the money tomorrow. He was standing there at my door the next morning when I opened the shop to give me that $1 that he owed me. Good people. I've had people that live in the neighborhood there, born and raised this country. Hey, can I borrow a hammer? Yeah, bring it right back. But you can borrow it and never see it again. So I can say there's good people, but open your eyes. Look at what, like the caller said, look what's happening in these other countries, the atrocities. I mean, these people are being slaughtered by these extremist groups. And then, accept the fact that some of those people are here.
We talked
so
about
we need to prepare for when they come out of the woodwork, because they will.
We talked about being, aware of your surroundings and how important that is. But over there yesterday, I don't think that there was really any. You're talking about a nice public street. You wouldn't. Again, it comes back to you don't know where it's going to happen.
Well, and Spain is also very liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if anyone that thinks that somehow appeasing these extremists is going to take away their angst, they're just going to take the softest target they can find. And if you get buddy with them, like if you went over there and said, I'm going to go talk to them and I'm going to put my arm around them, you'd be instantly a hostage and
They want death.
Yeah.
That's all they want. They want death. They want
Death
a
or
body
money.
count. They want attention, and they're going to do it no matter what. It doesn't matter where it is. If they can get away with it, that's what's going to happen.
See, the difference with extremists in this country is they mainly just want attention. So that's, here's the TV camera. Hey, over here. Want to point out both these men who are joining us this morning have a role when it comes to firearms and self-defense. Todd, first of all, Patriot Defense.
Yeah. You can find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. I'm always updating stuff. I run a few different pages, actually. Patriot Defense is the one we're concerned with today. Occasionally, I will cross-post stuff on accident. I found a bunch of scout pictures and stuff. Oh, that's the wrong page. I had to take them off and move them. Bear with me. You can find me there. Message me there. You can call me. You can text me at area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. If you've got an out-of-state cell phone number like me, this new area code thing doesn't bother you because if I have to dial 208 for years, it doesn't matter. I've got 3 classes coming up. I've got an enhanced permit class on September 9th. I'm actually already taking about 3 phone calls this morning on the way here for people interested in the class. So give me a call. I can get you on the list, answer questions. I've got a Handguns 101 class on September 30th. I take about 6 people in that class. I've got 2 signed up right now. We come and we work on your shooting. We work on how to draw, the proper draw technique, how to draw and fire. Make sure you're doing it safely. Talk about drawing from concealment as well. And I have a women's class on September 8th. If you're interested in any of those, give me a call. Shoot me a text, 620-794-6223.
And we have a Washington Street Pawn as well.
Yeah, Forrest. Washington Street Pawn, 321 Washington Street, 321 Washington Street. We're 3 blocks south of Addison on Washington. We're on Facebook under Washington Street Pawn. You can message us there. Stop in the store. I've got a bunch of Todd's cards, so if you want some information about his classes, I've got his business cards there. And we got a bunch of great deals. If you're going back to school, I have a pile of laptops right now, and they are very inexpensive. They're a great value. Guns, I'm loaded with hunting rifles and shotguns right now. 3.5-inch, 12 gauges. If you're going to be duck and goose hunting, I've got everything from Benelli and Beretta all the way down. So stop in. We really need to move some product before the end of the month, so we'd love you to come in and buy something from us. I'll make you a great deal on it.
It's hunting season. Get your guns because it's it's coming when I start to schedule everything around my seasons, and that started as of yesterday.
Yeah.
And you're not a fisherman, then I take it.
I do fish, not as much as I used to. I just get real busy in the summertime and stuff, so I just do a lot more hunting. I'd rather be cold and sitting in a duck blind than over a hole in the ice. So.
Yes, makes sense. We've got to take a short break. I want to point out we're talking about firearms this morning and firearm safety, and if you've got a question about training or a specific model, these 2 gentlemen can handle those questions coming up in just a few minutes. We're at 68. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story. on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And of course, we give the website out because if you're out of town at any point, click on the Listen Live icon. You'll be able to hear us anywhere all around the world. You're listening to some firearms discussion this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn joining us. Todd Echols from Patriot Defense. Bill Colley, top story on News Radio 1310. And we're coming up, well, it's been bouncing around. It's in the neighborhood of 70 at 9:34. And I believe we have a caller looking to join us. And caller, you're up next. You're on the air on KLIX. Go ahead.
Isn't there a law in Switzerland that every family has to have a gun in their home?
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
I've heard that too. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard it if it's on Facebook, it's true, right?
Yeah, and gun ownership, actually in Switzerland, a lot of people use that comparison to the United States. But
Yeah.
you have to, there's mandatory military service.
You have to serve,
and you have to be trained with that firearm. Like, you have to go through some pretty stringent training. And then there's a limit on the amount of ammunition you can actually have in your home. And a lot of times your guns are kept at the police station in Switzerland, depending on the type of firearm.
By the way, mandatory military service, they haven't been in a war in 400 years. So it's more like being on a camping expedition.
It's more like, their military does a lot of community service projects.
humanitarian
and things like
type
that.
stuff. Yeah.
We have another caller. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, good morning. You guys have hit on a couple things this morning that I really try to drill into people's heads, and also drives me absolutely out of my mind. I'm former law enforcement, and I teach some firearm stuff as well, and it just makes blood want to shoot out of my eyes when I hear somebody say a clip. Magazine is a clip, especially fellow law enforcement people. Oh, yeah.
People that should know better.
That should know better. I want to take a 30-round magazine and tap them on the forehead with it and say, no, it's a magazine. The other thing that's really important to me, and I stress to especially new shooters, is that if you're going to get a firearm, especially for self-defense, get training, because your life is going to depend on that. And even though we don't need a permit in Idaho anymore, people get the mindset they can just go buy a gun and they're going to defend their family. And the biggest problem with that is, they get a semi-automatic handgun, and it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when that will have a malfunction, and they won't know what to do with it. Turns into a club. So training is very, very important if you're going to own a firearm.
They, we talk about that a lot in the shop, about how, people go and they'll take one, they won't take a class, or they will take a class and then they won't train with it again.
They think they're done. That's it. Yeah.
Or we have people that buy a gun and then they go and shoot one. I've bought so many guns from people 2 years after they bought the gun new. And I've said, how many times has it been shot? Well, when we got it, we went around one magazine through it. And that was the extent of it.
At least they said magazine.
But, you have to train, and you need to continue to train. That doesn't mean that you need to be in a class every week, but you need to take the tools that the instructor taught you, and you need to practice those at home, and you need to spend a little range time, put some rounds down range.
And it's fun. It's fun to go out and go shooting. Even if you're shooting at a paper plate, it's fun. I wanted to touch on, the training thing. I had a gentleman call me last night, and I don't know if he listens to the show or not, and I'm not picking on him by any means, but just using his as an example. He hasn't dealt with firearms much, him or his wife, and I know he was looking at buying a firearm, and I encouraged him not to buy one quite yet, to come try out my firearms. Use mine in class, as long as they provide the ammo. He was looking at buying a GP 100, like a 357, big revolver. And, it's for him and his wife. He said, I've never met this guy. He said they had small hands. They were smaller people. And I'm like, yeah, why don't you come shoot my guns first? That's probably not the best gun for you just to go out and buy, especially if you've never shot one before. I encourage everyone, if you're taking a class and the instructor has firearms, or you have friends that has firearms, if you ask them nicely and you provide the ammo, they'll probably let you shoot one. Go out and shoot something. Find out what fits for you. Just because it works for your buddy doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Absolutely.
My wife is half the size of me. She's tiny. She's got little tiny hands, and she's got a couple little semi-auto pistols. She loves to shoot. They work great for her. I hate them. I cannot stand them. They hurt my hands when I pull the trigger. They don't seem to bother her at all. It's kind of weird the way it goes, but find something that fits you. Don't just go out and buy something. I mean, they look cool. Trust me, I've gone out and bought something because it looks cool. But that big 357 revolver isn't necessarily going to be the one you want to carry with you all the time and enjoy shooting.
And people all the time think, oh, my wife is small or my girlfriend's small, so I'm going to get a tiny gun.
Yep.
If they're not going to carry it, they're going to use it for home defense. Don't buy them a small gun.
I had a guy come and finish up his shooting portion. He had taken the law portion somewhere else, finished up the shooting portion of his permit class, and he had a gun. And he said it was his wife's. His wife had never shot it, and so he whipped it out and he's going to shoot it. It was a little 380, little LCP, and he started shooting it. I'm like, that's going to have a little more of a kick than what you think. And he starts shooting, and he's like, man, wow. I was like, and you were going to have your wife shoot that.
Yep.
And so I had him shoot, a couple of my bigger guns. She's like, I'm going to rethink this. I was like, yeah, because if you don't enjoy it, I guarantee you your wife is not going to.
Yep, exactly.
Happy wife, happy life.
And you get to buy more guns.
We've got a short break. We've got Forrest Anderson from Washington Street Pawn and Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense in studio with us. Bill Colley as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We've got about 15 minutes to go after the break. Our studio guests, Todd Eccles and Forrest Anderson. Todd from Patriot Defense, Forrest from Washington Street Pawn. I do want to mention, before we get to our caller, be patient. Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert, because if you're listening to the show, thank you, but remember, you got to keep your hearing in order to hear what we're talking about on the air. Why would you choose Mount Harrison Audiology? Well, commitment. Dr. Christine Pickup and her family are honored to be part of the Mini-Cassia community. They support local sports, schools, and the Independence Day celebration in Rupert. As a locally owned independent business, your support allows her to, in turn, help the community. At Mount Harrison Audiology, she's committed to serving each patient and the communities they live in. Trust your hearing health to the only locally owned hearing healthcare practice in the Magic Valley. The telephone number, 208-312-0957. Caller, thank you for your patience. You're up next.
Yes, I'm a female, has serious gun fear issues. I do own a gun. And I was wondering if you could repeat the training information.
Yeah, I can do that. First of all, my contact info, you can write this down. You can text me or call me, off the air.
Okay.
My number is area code 620-794-6223. And I've got a few different classes here. It depends on what you want. You're if you've got gun fear issues, it sounds like maybe there needs to be like a one-on-one type thing. And we can sit down. I don't have a date set up for something like that. If you get a hold of me, we can come up with a time some evening that works for you, or some Saturday or whatever. And we can come out. We can talk about what's going on, and we can work on shooting and help you work through some of those fears. Answer any questions that you have. Take it as slow as you need. And then if you wanted to, we could jump into like one of our permit classes or one of our all women's classes. I can give you the dates on those if you want.
Okay.
The enhanced permit class is on September 9th. I have my all women's class on September 8th. And, but depending on how your fear is, we might want to start ahead of time. And if you get a hold of me, call me, text me, find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. We can definitely, put something together, work something out for you, kind of a personalized class if we need to.
Bill, I have a question for the caller. Have you had some negative experiences with firearms, or you're just unfamiliar with them?
Well, I grew up in a home where it was like a really anti-gun home.
Okay.
And I've changed a lot over the years. And one of the things living in Idaho, it's been great. I've been here 12 years. I have felt the need to have home defense and be trained. I'm constantly fighting that demon of this, must have been instilled really, really well from my parents or something.
Well,
but
a lot of that fear comes from the unknown,
Right.
where you haven't had a lot of experience. It's hard to know what shooting a gun is going to be like when you've never done it before. We have people come through classes all the time just to give you a little positive encouragement, I had a lady and her husband come through. He's 20 years military. She had never fired a firearm before in her life. Took a handgun class. By the end of the class, 8-hour class, she was smoking him. She was a much better shooter than him, and she was beating him in the drills that we do because she didn't have any bad habits. So what I can tell you is coming in, you're going to do great because you're going to have a clean slate to work with. And if you get hold of Todd, he teaches a great class. Stop by Washington Street Pond. We can talk about some guns. You can hold some in your hand. We can go over some of the basics so that when you get to go to see Todd, you'll already have some things nailed down. We're happy to just take time with you and just familiarize with you.
Thank you so much.
We're not going to pressure you to buy anything, but we'll let you look at some stuff and hold some stuff and maybe talk some terminology with you.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
And then when she walks out with 3 pistols, we were just talking about this. Her call's great because we were having this conversation off air that it really comes down to what's going to fit in your hand because it's critical. You've got to have a good, solid hold and grip on that.
And just because one fits you doesn't mean it's going to fit me. Even if we had the same size of hands, it's all about what feels comfortable.
And there's physics involved.
There is.
So small, light gun equals more recoil. You just can't get around that.
Doesn't matter what the caliber is.
Yeah, you carry a gun that's a little bit bigger in size, has a little more weight to it. If you're not going to concealed carry, like she's talking about, I just want something for home defense.
Sure.
Or something to put in my car when I go camping.
Baby steps.
Yeah, well, that's great. You want a gun that's a little bit bigger so that, it's easier to manipulate. The buttons are a little bit bigger. The recoil spring's generally not as stiff. There's a lot of advantage to a handgun that's a little bit bigger size, and you have a longer sight radius, so it's easier to be accurate with.
Yeah, just like you said, smaller guns tend to be a lot harder to shoot, and I like people who have never shot before or who are really new to shooting, shoot with a larger frame, not a larger caliber necessarily, a larger frame handgun, and once you get proficient with that, then you can go down in size. Small gun, short barrel, you're off just a little bit where you're holding that gun. By the time that bullet gets to the target, you're off by 8 inches, 9 inches.
And talking about caliber, people always think they need to have a 357 home to defend themselves. A 22 long rifle works fine for self-defense if you can hit the target. The only shots that matter are the ones that connect with the target. So you can miss all you want with a 45. If you can hit once with a 22, you're better off with that.
I posted a meme on my Facebook page the other day, and it had a target, like a humanoid-shaped target, had a bunch of holes in the center, a bunch of holes in the head, and that was a 9mm target. Then over on the other side, it had the same humanoid target, had one 45 hole way down in the corner, and it says 45 owners are like, I just need one shot, he'll bleed out.
We have a caller with us. Caller, you're up next, and you're on Top Story on KLIX.
Hi, guys. I always appreciate your program.
Thank you.
Todd, I got 2 questions for you. School's starting here Tuesday in Minidoka County. Is there anything on the horizon, legislative-wise, where we can allow staff to concealed carry in the schools? Is there anything on the horizon?
It's already legal in the state of Idaho. It has to be approved by the school board.
Yeah, there's a state law, a state blanket law that covers everything. Okay, and this that covers the schools, so you can't carry there. But if the school board, just like Forrest was saying, if the school board approves it and puts it into their bylaws, that's the key. Then that they want to allow concealed carry in the schools, even for the staff. That's up to them, and they can make that call right there. So if you want that changed, you go talk to the school board. Get a group of people that are like-minded and go talk to the school board and make some presentations, see what they have to say about it. Change it on the local level.
There are staff. My son did a senior project on just this. There are staff in the schools right now in several schools who have been approved by the school board. No one knows who they are. They try to keep that low key, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
Who are carrying in schools right now. So there's a lot of districts who've already adopted that.
I had a lot of teachers. I want to thank you for the call. I had a lot of teachers who definitely had the skill to do that. Old veterans and guys who were out hunting all the time.
It mostly comes down to what's upstairs.
Yeah,
right.
Their state of mind and their mental capacity.
We have another caller. It's 9:51, and caller, you're up next on News Radio 1310 KLIX.
Thank you. I have a question. What do you think about using a cut-off shotgun as self-defense because of the larger pattern? And what is the shortest barrel that's legal?
18.5-inch barrel for a shotgun. Overall length of the gun, don't quote me on this, I think it has to be 26 inches. So you can't have an 18-inch barrel but the total overall length of the gun, I need to look that up, but I know the barrel length has to be 18.5 inches. Now, shotguns for home defense work great.
They sell already cut down shotguns now. Mossberg, you can go into the Mossberg has them in Winchester, Remington.
Yeah,
you can buy them. Tell her about them. They're cool.
They're actually the ATF has approved them. They make some little short ones. I would recommend for people for home defense if you're going to use a shotgun, and depending on your experience, get a 20 gauge. Don't get a 12 gauge.
No, I understand that. Uh-huh.
And then the thought that the pattern is going to be huge. It's still pretty tight, up pretty close, but you want to shoot what you're confident with, and you want to shoot what you can hit the target with. And if that's what you can hit the target with, then absolutely.
Well, I always had relied on a revolver or a handgun of some kind, and then someone suggested, well, you're getting older now, and maybe you don't handle them as well. Maybe a shotgun would be better. So, and now that there is something, you do probably have them, or can give me the information.
Absolutely, yeah. Stop in Washington Street, Pawn. Ask for me, Forrest, and we'll talk about all your options.
Buy something new, call us back, tell us how it works out, and then invite us all over to shoot it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I won't have to use it for self-defense, but who knows?
And one thing to note: when you buy a gun from us, all of our guns come with a lifetime warranty on them. Our used ones come with a lifetime warranty, and our new ones come with a lifetime free replacement warranty. So you buy a new gun from me and it breaks, you bring it back, I get you a brand new gun to replace it.
Okay, sounds like a winner. Thank you so much for all your program. Thank you.
Want to thank her as well. And by the way, I know a lot of younger women who use shotguns for home defense. So it's not necessarily just being worried about your aim as you get older and maybe your sight, is going down a little bit. A lot of younger people do the same.
She's a neat lady. She calls a lot, and the questions she has some good questions.
She knows her firearms.
And I think she's armed to the teeth everywhere she goes. I love it.
We have another caller with us. You're on the air on KLIX.
Hi, these cell phones are wonderful, but I didn't get a chance to pass you by my second question. I lost your cell signal. Todd, did you mention here a couple of weeks ago or within a month, because I try to listen to all your episodes, did you say it's a 25-year mandatory prison sentence for a gun in a school?
I didn't. I don't think I said anything like that. I don't know what the prison sentence is, so I don't think that was me.
Okay. I thought I heard somebody say that on the program. It was 25 mandatory deal. But
all I know is if you get caught in a school with a gun and you're not supposed to have it there, that's a big one because that's federal.
Yep.
And I wouldn't play with that.
Right, it's a felony.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about this last week because we had a caller one day who was telling me he goes to church at St. Jerome in Jerome, and he referenced the fact that he sometimes is carrying in church because we have seen, no one wants to see this happen again, but shootings take place in churches. I mean, we hear about them periodically.
Carrying church every week.
But my church is right next door to the church school. So I would imagine I would be prohibited by law from carrying there because I'm within the radius.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
We got to be careful.
Right. You would not want to. I would think they'll be inside.
Right.
When you're basically less than 100 feet away, the buildings are they're separated by a sidewalk. So I think that from that standpoint, that's a question you better ask a local law enforcement official about.
The letter of the law, you're probably no good right there.
Right. I want to mention it's 9:55, and before we wrap up today, Todd Eccles has a big event. Can we mention it?
Yeah, you can mention it. I can mention it. I am running out. Actually, I got to change my shirt first. I got to have a white shirt on, and I'd get it dirty if I put it on now. Running to my daughter is getting married today at 11. So I'm running down there, and it took me about 2 seconds online. I'm officiating. So I was just showing you guys here. I know the callers can't see, but my daughter wrote up what she wanted me to say. And I went ahead and stuffed it inside of a recoil handgun concealment magazine. And that's what I'm going to hold up and read the vows and all that stuff out of it. I think it'll be kind of fun. I'm going to take some selfies while I'm up there. And she doesn't know I'm paying for this. I'm going to have fun with it.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're going down there. And I even pulled out my new holster and a gun I've never carried before. I got my she had some friends over, and I took it out of the safe this morning and said it's my wedding gun. So So yeah, I'm
It's
gonna have
not a
some fun with it.
shotgun wedding, but it's a wedding gun.
And the best part is she wants me to pick her up in the old Scout and haul her down there to. We're having it at one of the parks here in town. So I got the Scout. I got it washed up, still filthy on the inside, but we're gonna throw her in her wedding dress in there and haul her down there.
Nice.
So it'll be fun.
Forrest, how do people get a hold of you at the shop?
Well, one thing first I wanted to mention. Maximum overall length of a shotgun is 26 inches. So if you cut the barrel off, the barrel has to be 18. I tell her 18 and a half because when you measure that thing, you never want to be like a little bit short because if they're after you, they'll get you for whatever. And then the total overall length of the gun has to be 26 inches. So that's just to answer that caller's questions. Washington Street Pond, 321 Washington Street, 208-735-0012. We're kind of in flux right now. We've got just a pile of merchandise right now. We just switched our software computer system, so we've been having a few issues there, but we've got that ironed out. I got a pile of guns and a pile of laptops to sell. So if you're coming back to school, come see us. We got tools and laptops and everything you might need.
And Patriot Defense.
Yeah, you can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. I've got my enhanced concealed carry class coming up on September 9th. And the day before that is a Friday. So September 8th, I've got an all-women's class. We'll just do something that evening. And then I've got a handguns 101 class. We're going to talk about how to draw the firearm safely and properly. That's on September 30th. If you're interested in any of those, call me, text me, look me up on Facebook. Shoot me a message today, and I will get back to you later on this afternoon. I have got to play minister or priest or whatever I'm doing here in about an hour. So
I got to add, Forrest mentions a new computer system, and they've got a few issues clearing that up. Here at the radio station, we don't even need a new system to have an issue. Just saying. 9:58 news is coming up next from Fox, followed by Rush Limbaugh's program. And God willing, the Creek Zone Rise meet. Bill Colley will be back here. I guess some grammarian out there will correct me. We'll be back here Monday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock.